welcome. If you seek truth, the truth shall set you free. Fear not. And now the agenda with Crystal Risotti.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Agenda with Crystal Risotti. I'm the host, Crystal, and I'm happy to welcome you here. I hope you're either watching or listening, and if you are, I'm hoping that you'll send this off to your friends, like, follow, comment. Make sure you're sharing because sharing is caring. But definitely make sure that you're watching these episodes because I've been working on these for a while, and each one tends to build on the next, or the previous, I should say. And so it's really imperative that you get the information that we've already put out so that we can keep moving forward with the content that we're building on. So make sure you check out those shows. While you're at it, make sure you go to revolverbroadcasting.com. We're showing it on the screen right now. And make sure you're checking out the other shows because there's a lot of content on here, different podcasts, different episodes, something for everybody. So go check out the other things and also hit the shop while you're on there because we have some really cool merch. We've got Agenda with Crystal Risotti merchandise. We've got Trump merchandise. We've got a weird shirt. We've got Trumpomania shirt. We've got the fight shirt with Trump. We've got all kinds of different stuff. Our Faith, Family, and Politics show content, Revolver Broadcasting. Just check it all out because, again, even in the shop, there's something for everybody. I wanted to jump right into this because I think this might be a little long. I'm going to try to keep it short as possible. But with the upcoming election, something I think we have to talk about, we got to get the content out, is the platforms for the Republicans and for the Democrats. I've been thinking a lot about this, and there are so many people that have no idea what the party platforms state. They just hear what the candidates say. That's all they hear. And I can tell you those candidates are doing sound bites, and they're repeating them over and over again. And so you hear very little of really what the plans are from those parties. But guess what? Those candidates are pretty beholden to the party. Luckily, the side I'm on has a friendly as the head of the party. The other side, I'm not so sure. But anyways, I want to cut out all the noise. I want to cut out the sound bites and the rhetoric. I want to go straight to the source and kind of walk you guys through what these different platforms say because that's where the meat is. What you're getting on media is little tidbits here and there of appetizers. You're going to get a little bit more in the debates. You get a little bit more about that in the debates. But really where the full picture is, the holistic picture, the full scope is in the platform. So we're going to pull up the Republican Party platform in this episode. In the next episode, I want to go over the Democrat Party platform. And either in that same episode or one after, we're going to compare to the UN sustainability goals, the sustainable development goals that we talked about in a prior episode, because I think you're going to find one party is more aligned with it than the other, and it's going to become really, really clear. I try to think about these things from my perspective and what would I want to know? What did I want to know? Just even a few years ago. And so that's the content that I want to bring to you because, again, I'm all about going to the sources, getting the receipts, and making sure I'm looking at non-biased sources as well. And that's what I want to bring to you. So let's go to the Republican Party platform. The theme of it is America First, a return to common sense. And its dedication is to the forgotten men and women of America. I love that. I love that part. I'm going to read, there's a lot of content in the beginning. I'm going to read some of this because there's a tone that you're going to get from the way it's written. And I want you to pick up on that. I want you to listen. I want you to hear what's being said and how it's being said. And then I'm going to talk to you about it. And along the way through this, I'm going to talk about some of the things that are in it because I think it's really important to note. And then we'll actually get into the bullet pointed plans because the Republican Party has a list of plans. And in their list of plans, remember how I always say it's not often the what you have to worry about, it's the how? In the Republican Party platform, their plans actually list the how. So that's imperative because you're going to want to know the how in order to make an educated decision. So let's get started. It starts off by saying, our nation's history is filled with the stories of brave men and women who gave everything they had to build America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. Generations of American patriots have summoned the American spirit of strength, determination, and love of country to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. The American people have proven time and time again that we can overcome any obstacle and any force pitted against us. In the early days of our republic, the founding generation defeated what was then the most powerful empire that the world had ever seen. In the 20th century, America vanquished Nazism and fascism, and then triumphed over Soviet communism after 44 years of the Cold War. But now we are a nation in serious decline. Our future, our identity, and our very way of life are under threat like never before. Today, we must once again call upon the same American spirit that led us to prevail through every challenge of the past if we are going to lead our nation to a brighter future. I found something very interesting in that statement. When it says American spirit, both those words are capitalized. American, I understand being capitalized. But when they capitalized spirit, the thing that came to mind was the Holy Spirit. I don't know if I'm right on that. Comment below if you have agreement or disagreement with that. It's just something I observed and it hit me. And I thought that's interesting that they would refer to the American spirit in a way to me that would combine Americans and the Holy Spirit. So, okay. It goes on to say, for decades, our politicians sold our jobs and livelihoods to the highest bidders overseas with unfair trade deals and a blind faith in the siren song of globalism. There's that word, globalism. They insulated themselves from criticism and the consequences of their own bad actions, allowing our borders to be overrun, our cities to be overtaken by crime, our system of justice to be weaponized, and for me, this is the most important one, our young people to develop a sense of hopelessness and despair. I'm going to stop there for a minute because I see that everywhere. I don't know if you all are seeing it. There's a common thing that I've heard in the past as a Christian. When you take God out of your life, there's a huge void and you're trying to fill it and you're doing this and that and this and that and this and that to try to fill it and nothing works. That's where the despair comes from. According to the Mental Health America website, did you know that 3,406,000 youth had serious thoughts of suicide so far in 2024? That's a huge number. And I don't know that it's going to get better anytime soon, no matter who wins the election. It's going to take a while to reverse that because I think the intention to get us to this point has taken a long time. And you can't fix it overnight. But moving on. It says,
as always, all references available in the description below.
Exactly. Thank you, Josh. Josh is the producer. He's joining me tonight. I love having him.
Well, hello, all you good people.
Love having him with me because it gets a little boring talking by myself. So I'm happy Josh is here, which he would be here anyway. But I like him on the mic also. And if you like him on the mic, comment. Okay, so moving on. It says they rejected our history and our values. Quite simply, they did everything in their power to destroy our country. So I want to stop there again because there's something else I'm pointing out to you. So far, up to this point, they've talked about the generic term, our politicians. They didn't call out one party or the other. And I find that to be encouraging. I'm an independent voter. I'm a conservative first. And then, that tells you kind of where I lean in every election. Although I haven't always voted Republican. I've voted Libertarian sometimes. Never Democrat. And the reason why is because I cannot reconcile my Christian values and what the Bible teaches with their platform. I never could. Now, also, I didn't start voting until I was probably in my early 30s, to be fair. Because up to that point, I felt like when you give me somebody worth voting for, I'll vote. I was too young to vote for Reagan. Probably would have done that. But the next person I was even interested in was Ross Perot. And I wasn't registered to vote then, so I didn't vote then.
Hey, you're going to vote for me. Is it pretty good? It's pretty good.
Well, listen, what was I attracted to him for? The fact that he was not in politics and he was a great businessman.
I would have voted for him too if I
right?
were the right age, yeah.
Right? And what do we got now? We got somebody who wasn't involved in politics and who was a great businessman.
Outsider, yeah.
He's Ross Perot part 2. Part 2.
Some say better. Some say better.
Right? But I love that about this platform because, like I said, they're not calling out the other side yet. They're saying politicians in plural, and it could be generic to either side. And I totally agree with them on that because if you are paying attention, you know that there are a lot of people who claim the name Republicans that aren't really Republicans. Just like there are a lot of people who claim the name Christian that aren't really Christians. In this day and age, I feel like when somebody says they're a Christian, I have to dive in and say, what do you mean by that? And it's the same with Republicans. What do you mean by that? Your parents were Republicans, so that makes you what? One? It's not, there's a whole bunch of different definitions, so you got to dig down. Okay, moving on. It says in 2016, President Donald J. Trump was elected as an unapologetic champion of the American people. He reignited the American spirit and called on us to renew our national pride. His policies spurred economic growth, job creation, and a resurgence of American manufacturing. President Trump and the Republican Party led Americans out of pessimism induced by decades of failed leadership, showing us that the American people want greatness for our country again. I like the fact that it called out, led us out of pessimism induced by decades of failed leadership. I totally love that. I can speak from experience. When Obama became president, it didn't take long, and I felt like there was this oppression sitting on me. Because I, to be honest, felt like they rigged the vote then, and that Hillary would win against Trump. And when I found out Trump won, I was so super excited. And even very quickly after he won, the patriotism that I felt before came back, and that oppression lifted. And then we have the situation where Trump lost, so to speak, last election, and it all came right back. So it cycles through. Now,
I was gonna say I feel that in 2016, though, I have to say when I found out Trump won in 2016, because it's pretty early in the morning, I think somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m. That they had called it, and I just had my house lounging shorts on. I didn't have I was just sitting there with the television by my lonesome. Was like, I got to tell somebody. So I went outside and I ran up and down the street. In the cold, it was like a little bit of frost everywhere, but I didn't care, barefoot and all. I just went up and down the street just to let people know that we had a good president now.
That's hilarious. I could totally see that, Josh. Thanks for that visual.
I can't wait to do that again. Totally going to do it again.
Totally. I might join you this time. But yeah, so speaking about that, it just, I feel like the oppression has come back. I know people say you can't take politics that seriously, or I'm just not into I don't understand that at all, because I've said this all along. First comes your religious persuasion, I'm going to call it. Okay? Your faith. Second comes politics. To me, they go hand in hand. And the two of them form your worldview. And you can't separate your Christian values from politics because of these platforms. And you're going to see what I'm talking about once we start getting into them. They can't be separated. And we did this episode on Christian citizenship to tell you God put us in charge in this country. He established this government as we the people being the authority. And we elect representatives. A representative isn't an authority. They're second in charge. So he put us in charge, and we have a responsibility and a duty to make sure that whatever we do is from a Christian worldview. I'm going to leave it at that. Anything to contribute on that, Josh?
No, I think that...
Can I get an amen?
Amen. I think Danny Tippett would agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay. Next it says, after nearly 4 years of the Biden administration, America is now rocked by raging inflation, open borders, rampant crime, attacks on our children, global conflict, chaos, and instability. We will make America great again. And I want you to comment if you disagree with any of those things, because I do not. And if you've watched this show, this podcast at all, or listened to it, you know that we've talked about all these different things up until this point. And so I challenge you to prove me wrong. Change my mind, right, Josh?
Right.
Change my mind. Okay, I'm
Shout out to
copying.
Crowder.
Yep, I'm copying that from Steven Crowder. All right, so next it says, we will be a nation based on truth, justice, and common sense. Love the common sense part. Truth, justice, and the American way. And if you're my age, you remember cartoons.
That's what Superman used to say.
Yeah, that said that. Okay, common sense tells us clearly in President Trump's words that if we don't have a border, we don't have a country. Amen. Restoring sensible border security and immigration policy requires many steps, all of which would have been, and indeed were, taken for granted by prior generations as obviously necessary and good. We must secure our southern border by completing the border wall that President Trump started. Hundreds of miles have already been built and work magnificently. Now, I made a comment on that on my sheet because they'll tell you only 50 miles was built. I've heard that I don't know how many times from the left. Totally not true. What happened was, I think it was 200 almost miles.
Let me just, I'll fact check it real quick.
Okay.
Sure.
I think it was about 200 miles that was built. The Biden administration, if you recall in the beginning, nixed the border policy. And when they did that, they tore fence down. And they left the parts of the fence as rubble on the ground. So they claimed it was only 50 miles because technically by that point it was. They just tore the fence down. You got that yet?
Yeah, I'm PolitiFact. So he initially had 458 total miles
Just
of
under
primary
500.
border built, but 52 miles of it was where it started, but it ended up at 458 miles. But then they tore down almost half of that and sold it off.
And left it on the ground too.
Yes.
So there you have it. Almost 500 miles. I was wrong by about half. So shame on them for doing that. The remaining wall construction can be completed quickly, effectively, and inexpensively We must also vigilantly check those who enter our country by other routes and ensure that no one can enter our country who does not have the legal right to do so. And we must deport the millions of illegal migrants who Joe Biden has deliberately encouraged to invade our country. All right. He's calling out Biden there. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the first time I've heard Biden mentioned in this.
It's not wrong.
Okay. So, also, remember how I say it's not the what you have to worry about, it's the how. And I found a how here, right? How are they going to do it? It says we will start by prioritizing the most dangerous criminals and working with local police. So they're telling us how they're going to do it in the platform. Make a note of that. Keep it in the filing cabinet in your brain, because when we get to the next platform, next episode, you're going to see a difference. I'll just give you that little teaser. Okay, it goes on to say we must not allow Biden's... Oh, I think I already read. No, we must not allow Biden's migrant invasion to alter our country. It must not stand under the Trump administration and a Republican Congress that will be defeated immediately. Common sense tells us clearly if we don't have domestic manufacturing with low inflation, not only will our economy and even our military equipment and supplies be at the mercy of foreign nations, but our towns, communities, and people cannot thrive. I'm going to skip down to another sentence in that says President Trump's economic policy to end inflation and return manufacturing jobs is not only what the American economy and American workers need right now, it's also what they want right now. Agree with that. Common sense tells us clearly that we must unleash American energy. If we want to destroy inflation and rapidly bring down prices, build the greatest economy in history, revive our defense industrial base, fuel emerging industries, and establish the United States as a manufacturing superpower of the world, we will drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill.
Literally says that in the platform. And again, there's your how, right? They're telling you how they're going to do it. Drill, baby, drill. And we will become energy independent and even dominant again. The United States has more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation, and it's not even close. The Republican Party will harness that potential to power our future. I'm getting pumped up just even reading this. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm also noticing parallels between this and when Trump closes his rally speeches. This is actually word for word almost, except he changes his name out for I. But yeah, if they want to word for word hear this from Trump's mouth himself, any one of his rallies in recent history is this word for word.
Yep.
Because I watched just about all of them.
Yep. And he doesn't have a teleprompter.
He has one, but he goes off of it so often.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this he sticks to it because he knows that this is the message. Overall.
He probably wrote this.
He probably did. It sounds like his writing. Yes.
Uh-huh. Especially that drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, that and one. Unleashing American energy. Yes, that's very him. Yeah.
All right. Next paragraph says, common sense tells us clearly if we don't have a strong military, we won't be able to defend our interests and will be at the mercy of hostile nations. The policy of the Republican Party must be to ensure that America's military is the strongest and best equipped in the world. Amen. And that our government uses that great strength sparingly. Yes. And only in clear instances where our national interests are threatened. Okay. Who keeps calling us the party of warmongers? And, first of all, think back. Don't take the bait, because there were no wars when Trump was in power in the administration. It all kind of fizzled out. Certainly, Russia didn't threaten Ukraine. I believe Russia took Crimea under Obama, in fact. And just go back and look at the different parties back and forth and what happened with the wars underneath them. Do that on your spare time. But I love the fact that they're calling that out, that basically the Republicans are only going to respond in any kind of war situation if our national security is threatened. That's it. So what does that mean? Not Ukraine's national security is threatened. Not Israel's. And not other countries.
It makes me think back while you're sitting there talking about that. It makes me think of the movie Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Because like Trump, as far as like all these other world leaders, he talks about them like nicely and they're sharp or whatever. But I also think he was like Tommy Boy, and then they're all like, you know, David Spade's character. They say him too afraid to get out. He's just a widow guy.
It's true. It is true. Okay, next paragraph. Common sense tells us clearly that the Republican Party must stand for equal treatment for all. I thought we were like bigots and racists and all that. It goes on to say, likewise, the Republican Party must ensure the equal application of law to all, regardless of political affiliation or personal beliefs. Recent Democrat-led political persecutions threaten to destroy 250 years of American principle and practice and must be stopped. Liking that. Next one. America needs determined Republican leadership at every level of government to address the core threats to our very survival. Our disastrously open border, our weakened economy, crippling restrictions on American energy production, our depleted military, attacks on the American system of justice, and more. To make clear our commitment, we offer to the American people the 2024 GOP platform to make America great again. It's a forward-looking agenda that begins with the following 20 promises that we will accomplish very quickly when we win the White House and Republican majorities in the House and Senate. I'm going to read these off really quickly, but then I'm going to go right into the how, because they actually spell that out. So the 20 are seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Number 2 is carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Number 3 is end inflation and make America affordable again. Number 4 is make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Number 5, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Number 6, large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. If you watched the last episode, I showed you that Trump said that in May.
Yep.
And Kamala said it in June.
August.
I thought it was June.
No, it's beginning of this month. Yep.
Okay. You're right. So, yeah, copycat Kamala. Trump states he's not going to charge tax on tips, and then she copies it, and that becomes part of her rhetoric. I'm going to call it rhetoric because it's not true. Okay, number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. I want to point out the fact that Trump did have peace in the Middle East, and he wiped out the terrorists organizations. So the Abraham Accords were established in the Middle East. That was a huge big deal. Plus the fact that we didn't have hardly any terrorism going on, at least not terror cells that were active. They became kind of silent. So he's done it before. You think he can do it again? I do. Number 9, end the weaponization of government against the American people. That happens so much now. Number 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. The other side isn't going to do that. They're going to pay for them to get out with bail reform.
With the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
Yeah, so they can reoffend.
I'm going to add that to our things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, references.
Yeah. Number 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. Number 12, strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. Number 13, keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. Number 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. I know why they put that in the platform. Do you, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
Because the left keeps saying that the Republicans want to take away your Social Security and Medicare. It's totally not true. It has never been true.
It goes back to everything that Dan Bongino always says. Republicans pounce. Republicans pounce. It's always their headline.
Yeah. Right. Number 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. So before you freak out and say they're going to do away with all the electric vehicles, it doesn't say that. It says they're going to cancel the mandate. Now, Kamala just said today, and I'm getting ahead of myself because I can't help it. I'm supposed to talk about the Democrat platform next episode. Sorry, but it just came out. I just saw it today that she was saying that by 2040, all vehicles will have to be zero emissions, which means they'll all be electric. And she's flip-flopping on it because she's getting confronted about it. So, but she has been on record stating that by 2040, she, as president, which couldn't have been too long ago that she said it, was going to ensure that all vehicles were 100% emission-free. So he's just saying, I'm not going to mandate it. You can still buy electric vehicles if you want. He's all about the market setting what the priorities should be. And rightly so. That's what a good business person does.
That's what the free market's all about.
Exactly. Number 16, cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Hear, hear. Cheers to that.
I was going to say, you want to learn about those things? To quote President Trump, go home to mommy.
Exactly. Parents, you want to teach your kids that? Teach them at home. You can buy the books. You don't need them for free at the library. Make you work for it. Number 17, keep men out of women's sports. That's a good one. Very relevant. Number 18, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Number 19, secure our elections. Yes, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. All for it. No questions can be asked then about whether they're legit or not. Number 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. I think we all want that. All right, so moving on. Now I want to go to the how. So if you scroll down past all that, Josh, they past where the content, the preamble was.
Okay. I'll start scrolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 1 is unleash American energy.
Okay. Yep. I've got that pulled up now.
Perfect. Thank you. And so it says, under President Trump, the U.S. became the number 1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world, and we will soon be again. Here's the how. By lifting restrictions on American energy production and terminating the socialist Green New Deal, Republicans will unleash energy production from all sources, including nuclear, to immediately slash inflation and power American homes, cars, and factories with reliable, abundant, and affordable energy. Why would you not utilize every type you can? Whatever the market can handle, because that's how you get the competition and you get the prices lower. I mean, that's just common sense. And why would we restrict our own selves from energy that we have available freely that made us energy independent before? I don't understand the intent of not wanting to be energy independent. I don't get it. Who would want that and why? If you have an opinion on that, comment on it, because I'd love to hear it. I don't understand it, but I'm willing to hear it to learn. Change my mind. Thank you, Steven Crowder. Number 2, rein in wasteful federal spending. Republicans will immediately stabilize the economy. Here's the how. By slashing wasteful government spending and promoting economic growth. Okay, I will argue that the promoting economic growth is too vague in general. But At least they're offering a how, and they're definitely calling out slashing wasteful government spending. So that's a good thing. Number 3, cut costly and burdensome regulations. Republicans will reinstate President Trump's deregulation policies, which saved Americans $11,000 per household, and end Democrats' regulatory onslaught that they disproportionately harms low and middle income households.
It sounds like number 3 ties right into number 2 there. That's I mean, $11,000 per household saved. That's a lot of economic growth there.
Mm-hmm. Well, people seem to forget. Before Trump changed the tax policies, we were paying every year.
Yeah.
When he changed the standard deduction, I think before that it was $4,000 or something ridiculously low, and he upped it significantly to $12,000. We were getting a refund again. Plus, we were getting a little extra in our check. Not much to speak of in the check, but at the end of the year, when you can take off we didn't have to itemize anymore. We couldn't itemize and meet $12,000 as a deduction, right? And we didn't have any kids because we're older. That was just us. So, I mean, people complained about taxes even under that, and I'm like, you were so ungrateful. Granted, it's our own money, right? It's our money to begin with. But clearly they have control over it in D.C., and I would rather have a $12,000 deductible or deduction to claim at the end of the year than $4,000.
Yeah, I found I was really grateful because I didn't have to pull out the adding machine.
Right.
Because I'm old school, and
you just do a easy form, right?
Yeah, and I didn't want to go down an HR block because that's more money out of my pocket. I'm not trying to spend that kind of money. I'll do it myself. And but I was so thankful that it was so simple. I didn't have to worry about did I put a number in the wrong place,
right?
And have to pay the extra to TurboTax or whoever to double check it for me because God forbid that they put it in the wrong place and I get audited.
Mm-hmm. Well, now there's even more of a chance if we lose. Yeah, because the weaponization of the federal agencies and the 85,000 IRS agents they hired, and the fact that we're conservatives.
Yeah, I don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about them shooting at us though. They tend to put their thumbs over the slides when they're holding a gun. So
and it backfires. No, I'm just kidding.
It'll rip their thumb right off their hand.
Yeah, this is true. We know better how to use them, don't we?
Yeah.
All right, number 4, stop illegal immigration. Republicans will secure the border, deport illegal aliens, and reverse the Democrats' open border policies that have driven up the cost of housing, education, and health care for American families. There's a how in that as well. He, lays it out. I said they. This is the Republican platform that Trump will abide by. And the next one, restore peace through strength. War breeds inflation, while geopolitical stability brings price stability. That's a profound statement. Republicans will end the global chaos and restore peace through strength, reducing geopolitical risks and lowering commodity prices. And I don't have a lot to say about that one. That how was pretty weak. I agree with the peace through strength, and we did that before. Obviously, that comes from building the military and a strong leader who will just say no and not try to go along to get along. So I know that much.
Well, they'll make these other countries pay their fair share when it comes to
NATO and stuff too, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. So I believe in that. Okay. Next, we have secure the border. This is a chapter 2. If you're on the website and you're going through this, it's labeled chapter 2. It says Republicans will restore every border policy of the Trump administration and halt all releases of illegal aliens into the interior. We will complete the border wall, shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement, and use advanced technology to monitor and secure the border. We will use all resources needed to stop the invasion, including moving thousands of troops currently stationed overseas to our own southern border. We will deploy the U.S. Navy to impose a full fentanyl blockade on the waters of our region, boarding and inspecting ships to look for fentanyl and fentanyl precursors. Before we defend the borders of foreign countries, we must first secure the border of our country. There's a whole lot of hows in that one.
A whole lot of common sense in it, too.
A lot of common sense and a lot of hows. So they're telling us what they're going to do. It's very clear, concise, and to the point. Next is enforce immigration laws. So this seems to be all about immigration in this part. Republicans will strengthen ICE. Now, the other side wants to get rid of ICE. They've said it many times in interviews, including Kamala. She has said that in the past. But Republicans will strengthen ICE, increase penalties for illegal entry and overstaying visas, and reinstate Remain in Mexico and other policies that helped reduce illegal immigration by historic lows in President Trump's first term. Will also invoke the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known or suspected gang members, drug dealers, or cartel members from the United States, ending the scourge of illegal alien gang violence once and for all. We will bring back the travel ban and use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. All right, you know this already. We've talked about this. America is the number one consumer of child trafficking. The borders are wide open. I think there was over 100,000 kids unaccounted for that came across the border that they have no idea where they went. There are stories from people who work in the industry that talk about how they bring these kids, the cartels will bring the kids in. They drop them off. The government sends them to whoever writes to them, basically, and says, I'm a relative. They don't vet those people. They don't check them out. I know one report I heard was there was a household in Florida that had an exorbitant amount of kids that they had procured from the border. They couldn't have possibly been relatives to all the kids that they have. So this is a big deal to me, the child trafficking piece, because I think it goes hand in hand with, my personal mission about educating people about protecting kids. So that's a big one to me. But also, we got Gold Star families who these illegals were put in jail and released on their own recognizance, no bail required. They go back out, they reoffend. The family members have been killed by some. I heard one was actually came over the border illegally 5 times. I mean, there's no excuse for any of this. Now we've got buildings in New York and Chicago being taken over and the residents of these apartment buildings being evicted. And the residents are Americans that pay taxes. They're being evicted out of their apartment homes because the government wants to house the illegals there. How fair is that? It's not. And Chicago is within the country, like in the inner country. It's not a border state, or a border city, I should say, within a border state. I know we had a bunch that came to Indiana. They're sending them all over the country. And they're sending them multiple times because that's a good way to lose track of them. Just so you know. The transportation they're sending them on, we're paying for. Airplanes, buses, even probably cabs and Ubers, I'm guessing. They were given the illegal aliens in New York that were staying at a 5-star hotel that they took over. They were giving them money on a debit card
each.
Every week. How much do you remember?
It was a $10,000 debit card to start them out.
Yeah, $10,000 per person on a debit card to start off. I didn't get that. Did you? No. It's insane.
I also like that about the children, though, that protecting the children, and and in particular, because if we do happen to, I want Trump to win, obviously, but having him as president during Super Bowl time
Yes.
So, and then people are going, oh, what do you mean by that? Okay, well, let me explain that just for a second. Super Bowl, during the Super Bowl, that is the most, that is a day that most human trafficking, whether children or adults, happens during the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And with President Trump in office and the Republicans in control, a lot of these human traffickers and these child traffickers will lose a whole lot of money, and a lot of kids will be saved, and a lot of adults will be saved from this trafficking.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Based on time, I'm going to just read some headers of the others, but I do want people to go to the description, pull up the link to this, and read it for yourself. Every one of the headers I'm going to read has the how in the paragraph below it. So do your homework and do your research and make sure you understand fully what the parties represent, because we've gotten so far away from that. We just listen to the candidates. It's not enough. Go back and look at what the parties represent, what their commitment is, because your candidates, if they're not of good character, can tell you anything they want. And we're finding that this election season. We're finding flat out lies and flat out flip-flopping. And I won't mention any names. I don't know that I need to. Some people might see it on the side of Trump, but I don't believe that. He's been honest, and one of the things that you can't say about him is that he isn't honest to a fault. He tells you what he thinks, and that's what rubs people the wrong way. But I don't believe
he embellishes. Certainly, he embellishes. He's good. He's good at embellishing.
He does do that.
But that's I don't see that as a character flaw. I think that's just fun.
Yeah, and he's also very sarcastic and hilarious if you get his humor. But that's the thing I found too. You know, he'll try to be funny and do a sarcastic statement, and he's got a dry sense of humor. I die laughing, and the pundits on CNN are like taking it totally seriously.
Way too literal.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. It's like, calm down, killer. Take a pill. My goodness. There's that country girl coming out. Okay, so number 3 is begin the largest deportation program in American history. Number 4, strict vetting. Number 5, stop sanctuary cities. Hallelujah. I think even Chicago would be on board with that at this point, from what I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah.
Number 6, ensure our legal immigration system puts American workers first. Oh, wait, I thought the Democrat Party was all about American workers and the unions and stuff. But look, the Republican Party actually has that in the platform. So good to know. Chapter 3 is about build the greatest economy in history and some of the things they want to do with that. Make Trump tax cuts permanent and no tax on tips. We talked about that earlier. Again, these are going to be related to the 20 that we read off earlier, but there's a paragraph under each one. I just don't have the time to read them all for this episode, and I want you to go and do it because that's where you're going to find the how. I want you to know really well how this party plans to operate. Number 3, fair and reciprocal trade deals. Number 4, reliable and abundant low-cost energy. Number 5, champion innovation. And under that, there's actually a subheading for crypto and artificial intelligence and expanding freedom, prosperity, and safety in space. Those are intriguing, right? And again, the paragraphs underneath them tell you how they're going to do it. And then it goes into chapter 4, bring back the American dream and make it affordable again for families, young people, and everyone. This one I'm going to read their commitment because I also think it's important when there's a document like this, it is them stating this is what they're going to do. It is a commitment. And they can be held accountable to their commitment, just FYI. This is the Republican platform. This does not just apply to the national candidates. It also applies to your local candidates. If you get familiar with the platforms and their commitments to what they're going to do, it will help you also decide who you're going to vote for governor, who you're going to vote for all your local elections, mayor, whatever is coming this election season in your state. It will help guide you through that as well, because the candidates, again, can call themselves a Republican. It doesn't mean they are. They can say whatever they want. It doesn't mean they're going to do it the way they say it. Also, look at their past voting records, if they've been in office before. See if it lines up with these things. Even though this platform is new for 2024, these are values driven. And so that transcends a year and a date, right? If your candidates aren't aligned with these values, if you're a Republican, find other candidates. Because they're not aligning with their own party's platform. You see how this works? You can use this to your advantage. You can go confront your local politicians and say, this is what your party platform states, but you're doing this, which is contrary to it. I'm going to expose you. You need to change, right? Confront them about it, because this is what they buy into when they sign on as a Republican candidate. Okay. Housing affordability is number one. Accessible higher education. Now, I've said this all along. I haven't read that part yet, so I want to read it. I'm sick and tired of saying we need to have loan forgiveness. And I'm sick and tired of being a taxpayer put on how do I want to say it? A taxpayer being charged for people's loan forgiveness, I guess, is the best way to say it. I'm tired of it. We went to my stepson's college for, family weekend to see it. So we go to his dorm when he was staying in the dorm, and it was the new building, the new dorm. We walk in and there are lounges everywhere. There are these really beautiful outdoor lounges outside with plants everywhere. You go to the elevator and there's an iPad at every elevator. There was like 3 or 4 of them on the first floor. And you just punch in the floor you want to go to. And depending on what floor you want to go to, your own elevator will come down and get you, and you don't have to push any buttons when you get inside because it just already knows from the iPad to go to your floor. So it takes you to your floor. We got off the elevator, we go to his room, and it's all key card entry like a freaking hotel. It's not a key and a lock for your room. It's a key card entry like a hotel. The bathrooms were super nice. Like, everything was so nice, and I thought, no wonder kids can't make it on their own when they graduate from college, because they're used to this lifestyle of having these, bougie patios and lounge areas and elevators that are super, technology driven, and key card entries to the rooms. I mean, that's not real life. And they're not even working for it. Parents are paying for it, or they're getting loans for it. How about this? How about instead of making bougie dorms and fancy jumbotron football fields and sports stadiums and stuff, how about you just don't charge as much for tuition and you focus on the fundamentals that the kids need to learn to do the job when they graduate? How about that? How about the tuition goes down? We all know a lot of them are doing their stuff online anyway. It's not like a book back in the day that you had to pay for or even rent. You don't have to do that. It's technology driven. The exorbitant tuition fees they charge is ridiculous and not necessary. So I'm saying, forget about the loan forgiveness. Reduce the tuition at these universities and colleges to what it realistically should be. It's overinflated like crazy, so that the kids don't have to pay as much to go. I don't know. It's backwards to me. But anyways, what they're saying is to reduce the cost of higher education, Republicans will support the creation of additional, drastically more affordable alternatives to a traditional four-year college degree. See, a lot of the colleges are private, so they can't make them change their costs. But what they can do is create an alternative to a four-year college that's cheaper and drive the market there, right? Affordable health care is one that they talk about, lower everyday costs. And then Chapter 5 is about protect American workers and farmers from unfair trade. Number 1 is rebalance the trade. Number 2, secure strategic independence from China. Number 3, save the American auto industry. Number 4, bring home critical supply chains. Number 5, buy American and hire American. Number 6, become the manufacturing superpower. And then Chapter 6 is protect seniors. Number 1 in that is protect Social Security. It's right there in the platform. Number 2, strengthen Medicare, right there in the platform. When you hear the other side say, Republicans just want to destroy Social Security and Medicare, they want to get rid of it. It's totally not true. It's right there in the platform in black and white, and it's a commitment. Don't listen to it. Don't be suckered. Okay, number 3, support active and healthy living. Number 4, protect care at home for the elderly. Number 5, protect economic foundations for supporting seniors. And then it goes into Chapter 7, cultivate great K through 12 schools leading to great jobs and great lives for young people. This is a big, big, big one for me. I'm telling you. Number 1, great principals and great teachers. I encourage you to read that a little bit further because they'll describe what that means. Universal school choice is number 2. Number 3 is prepare students for jobs and careers. Well, that's a novel idea. What do you think, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's what the purpose of schools was.
What it used to be.
Yeah, but we've kind of gotten away from that and focused more on emotions, just like the Democrat National Convention did. Because emotions, I guess, drive them? I don't know. Number 4, safe, secure, and drug-free schools. Number 5, restore parental rights. Yay! Number 6, knowledge and skills, not CRT and gender indoctrination. Love that one too. Back to basics, right? Can they read? I mean, we talked about this in the global education episode. If you haven't seen that, go back and look at it. Average scores for proficiency for reading in Indiana are in the 40 percentile. Average. The highest was in the 60 percentile, which is still an F back when I went to school, but, you know, it's been a while. Number 7, promote love of country with authentic civics education. That's great. We haven't had that in schools in I don't know how long, so that needs to come back.
I think when I graduated high school was the last year that they offered that.
What year was that?
2002.
Okay. Number 8, listen to this one. Freedom to pray. It's sad that we have to have that written into a document. Number 9, return education to the states. In other words, abolish the federal Department of Education that Obama established. Get rid of it because every state should have its own way of doing things. There is no, so there's another part to this that I was going to talk about in the next episode, but the Constitution lays out what the federal government's responsibilities are. Anything that is not explicitly specified in the Constitution as a federal responsibility is by nature a state's responsibility. There are things that the feds have taken over that were not specified in the Constitution, therefore should have always been the state's responsibility. You're going to find out one of them in the next episode. It's a big one. But that's one of them. Education is not explicitly specified as a federal responsibility. Therefore, it should be states. Okay. Chapter 8, bring common sense to government and renew the pillars of American civilization. Number 1, empower American families. Number 2, rebuild our cities and restore law and order. Number 3, make Washington, D.C. the safest and most beautiful capital city. Okay, I don't know about that one. I mean, I kind of want my city to be that, but whatever. Number 4, take care of our veterans. That's a big one. Number 5, make colleges and universities sane, implying they're insane.
In the membrane.
Right. I like that song. Make colleges and universities sane and affordable. Love that. Combat anti-Semitism. Good one. Number 7, overcome the crisis in liberal arts education. What they say under that, it's brief, so I'll read it. They support the restoration of classic liberal arts education. If you don't know what that means, classic education is the education framework that was in place when it started. It has deviated so far from that now, it's just like a lot of mush. Classical education is the same way. It's foundational education, the way it was designed. But they're talking about that with liberal arts. Number 8, restore American beauty. Number 9, honor American history. And then chapter 9 is government of, by, and for the people. Number 1 under that is Republicans will stop woke and weaponize government. Hallelujah. Number 2, Republicans will dismantle censorship and protect free speech. Number 3, Republicans will defend religious liberty. I'm big on that because we've had some serious attacks by our government against religious liberty under this administration.
It's almost like we built a whole podcast around it.
It almost is, isn't it? Exactly. So that one's big to me. Again, I want you to go and read the paragraphs under these things. I know you may hate to read and it might be dry, but it's all what you put into it, right? So if you have an interest in it, or don't, find one, because it's all important to know. Number 4, Republicans will protect and defend a vote of the people from within the states on the issue of life. So again, abortion basically is what they're talking about here. It's a state's responsibility, not a Fed responsibility. Number 5, Republicans will end left-wing gender insanity. Love that one. And I love how they worded it because it is insanity. Number 6, Republicans will ensure election integrity. Number 7, Republicans will protect Americans in the territories. So that includes Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Guam, et cetera, et cetera. And then chapter 10 is return peace through strength. Number 1, the national interest. Number 2, modernize the military. Number 3, strengthen alliances. Number 4, strengthen economic, military, and diplomatic capabilities. Number 5, defend America's borders. Number 6, revive our industrial base. And number 7, protect critical infrastructure. Okay, I'm tired of talking. That's a lot of reading. The bottom line is, I think you can see from the content that's in the platform where the party stands, the values they embrace, the things they prioritize, even the how they're going to do it, how they intend to make these things happen. I want you to just file that away because next episode, like I said, we're going to go through the Democrat Party platform and we're going to see a comparison of not just the way they're written, the spirit of the parties, the values within the parties. We're going to compare and contrast all of that. Very, very critical that you share this video with others at this point because the election's coming up. I wanted to get these topics in soon enough so that they could circulate because I think too many people are, for lack of a better word, ignorant, and not intentionally ignorant. They just don't know. They're naive. Maybe that's a better word to the party platforms. I have talked to so many people who claim a party affiliation. I ask them, what's their party platform say? They have no idea what I'm even talking about. They didn't even know there was one. We have gotten so far away from the knowledge around how our political system works because we haven't had civics classes that it's time to go back and reclaim all of that. And the only way to do that is to get the word out, to educate people, to inform them. I don't care about me. I just care about getting this information out. It's critical, again, at this point. We are at a pivotal point in our history. I know I've been hearing that since the 2016 election. I heard it back then too. I heard it again in the 2020 election. But each time it kind of feels like it's escalating to a worse point. Every election that has come along. And I feel like once we look through the party platform for the Democrat Party, I think it's going to become really, really clear that if we don't get the vote this time around, the country will be communist before you know it. They've been trying to do it like boiling the frog, a little bit at a time. If you know that story, you know what I'm talking about. They've been trying to do it for years. And they've been working towards it. And if you go back to the communist goals that we talked about that were read into the congressional record in 1963 in the country, which means they existed before that, they've had decades to try to achieve this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the episode 2, because that sets the foundation for everything I'm going to talk about, I think, in the future. Don't you think, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
It kind of all goes back to that. But anyways, I thank you for your attention. I thank you for hanging out with me and Josh tonight or today, whenever you're watching this morning, this afternoon, tonight, whenever you're watching this. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your commitment to the show. Thank you for sharing this out to the public so we can get this word out and get people educated about what's going on. And thank you for everything you guys are doing. I covet your prayers. Also, keep me in your prayers because, speaking the truth isn't always popular. I'll just put it that way. Look in the description for references. Go read the party platform. I'm telling you. And comment and tell me if you did because I want to know. And before I check out, I want to remind you to go and check out revolverbroadcasting.com. Go check out the store, the different podcasts and shows we have, the different episodes of those podcasts. Again, content for everybody. There's shows for everybody. There's merch for everybody. We try to satisfy a variety of different things, but from a faith-based perspective.
Yeah, and don't forget the news chambers as well, because we've
we've
launched the news chambers, so you can go there and see news stories and assertions about Christian life and all kinds of good stuff.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of like a blog site, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you're checking all that out. Make sure you're liking this video, you're commenting on this video, you're following if you're on Rumble. Make sure you're telling everybody about Revolver Broadcasting. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, and anywhere you get audio podcasts. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu.